Hey guys, welcome back to my channel GS Fit for Life. So thank you so much for all the love and affection you've given me watching all my videos over the last 7 episodes, and this one is the final one. Today I'm going to talk about the race day, everything about the race day and the feeling that you go through, what goes in your mind and how it's all about. So it was a fantastically organized race. These guys, the NEB Sports guys, had done a great job. It was beautifully organized. It was in Bandra Reclamation. We went there about an hour and a half prior to the start of the race. I collected my bib. I realized that even after getting there 1.5 hours in advance, I probably was a tad bit late because there were people who had come there maybe 2 hours before. And I realized the advantage of doing that is because by the time you collect your bib, by the time you get you change into your clothes, because you obviously don't want to travel in the same clothes that you went over there, or the event clothes, so you go in chappals, you want to be away from shoes and socks which you would otherwise keep wearing for 12 hours. So by the time I actually got into my running gear, by that time things had already started moving. For example, they had started to call all the participants in the 12-hour race to the stage for a photograph and stuff like that, and I think I missed a couple of these little opportunities to stand with the whole group just because I probably got there not in time. So typically you should keep about an hour and a half to 2 for an event like this. Once there, your mind is already geared. There was something that was running in my mind, the fact that I was unwell for 4 days before the event because of that little needling that I'd gone through to kind of heal my piriformis muscle, and I had not done a long run. So mentally, while I was all excited and fully geared to get going, I wasn't sure how this race is going to pan out. And when we got there at about 4 o'clock, trust me, it was blistering hot. All my race practices were done in the rains. At least I was lucky that it was raining whenever I practiced, and that enabled the environment to be cool, and therefore your performance is always enhanced when the environment is cool. But when I got there, it was blistering hot, probably 32-33 degrees, around 4:30. Our race was supposed to start at 5, and yes, it started in the most hot and humid conditions. So the first 1.5 to 2 hours when the race started, trust me, I had a cap on which I never wore all through my entire practice because I was trying to cover myself from the sun hitting us, because we were running in an open ground and it was blistering hot. I was sweating. It was dehydrating to a certain point. I was sipping water almost every loop that I would take, and every loop I would take, I would have a sip of water, and I would pour 2 glasses of water on my head. So some of the things that I had to adjust to, but which was fine, because there were times when I practiced, I also had hot conditions, and I was doing exactly that. Moving on, as the race progressed, maybe 5 kilometers, 6 kilometers down the line, I started to realize that the pain that I had is not coming up, and that was good signs. And I was slowly getting into the rhythm. At around 7 o'clock, I had managed to complete close to 20 kilometers, and that was exactly what my target was. I wanted to complete about 20 kilometers in the first 2 hours, and I'm really thankful. More than thankful. I'm glad I could manage to do that because in that condition, I was assuming that I might not sustain that long. But at around 7 o'clock, when I finished 2 hours and I felt good, I relieved myself from the cap. I changed my t-shirt. I got my t-shirt out. I wore a vest, and I knew that this could be the attire I'm going to keep for the whole day as long as possible. In fact, as you know, I told you in training, I'd carried a lot of shoes, socks, and a lot of spare things to change. But this entire race, once I crossed the 7 o'clock mark, it got cool. It was pleasant. It was an evening slot that I'd taken, and that is what I'd exactly hoped for, and that happened. The weather was lovely thereafter. It was hot and humid. I wouldn't say it was not humid, but it was absolutely manageable, and that's what enabled me to push comfortably. Around 8ish, I wanted to eat something, so I stopped by. I went to see what's there for food. There was some lovely sabjis, chapatis and stuff like that. I said, okay, I'll come back for it a little later, and I kept running. So I kept a target of around 18 to 20 kilometers per hour, aspiring to try and get as close as possible to the 100 mark. Now, honestly, I had said this earlier to you, I had an aspiration. I didn't want to disclose it. My aspiration was trying to do 100 kilometers. In fact, when I enrolled for this event, I actually wanted to do a 100-kilometer event, but I knew I couldn't have done it in 12 hours because I'd never really done a ultra as long as 100 kilometers, and I never knew it could be possibly done in about 12 hours. So I had always wanted it to be an event of 14 hours or 13 hours. But sadly, they said they don't have an event that is around 13-14 hours, and I therefore took part in a 12-hour event, hoping to come as close as possible to the 100 mark. The more important target I had was I wanted to complete the Comrades distance, which is about 89 kilometers, and that is something that I wanted to do at any cost, and I had practiced literally with that in mind. So I'm very glad that I actually managed 93.4 kilometers as per the stadium calculation, and about 96 kilometers according to my watch's calculation. Now these two differ because when you run in a stadium, the only calculation is the 400-meter loop. It doesn't take into account any other GPS deviation that you have when you cross lanes, run fast, or not run fast, run slow, but every time you go to the 10 to probably eat something, there's a certain distance you travel, and that distance over the number of loops that you take. So I took 235 or 236 loops of the stadium, which means every time I went a little off track, maybe from lane 1 to lane 2, lane 3, I would increase the distance I was actually traveling. So, all in all, a fantastic race. Like I said, I even had my dinner wrapped in a chapati, that some sabji put in a chapati, and I took it in my hand and I said, I'm going to go out, I'm not going to sit and have it like most people would have wanted to do it. And I think it helped me. This is because of my practice. In my practice, I always practice eating and running simultaneously. But there was one thing I did very consciously. Every 1.5 to 2 hours, I would actually 2 hours, I would go and sit down, raise my legs up, and allow the blood flow to stream down, because when you're running consistently, your blood is all the time only getting pounded into your legs, so you need that blood flow to come back to your body, to your head. And I'd raise my legs and I'd sit for at least a minute or two, eat something in the meantime, have an energy bar or eat what was there, fruits, etc., and then 2 minutes of a break time, and then get back to my feet again. So run walk strategy really worked for me, and it's these things that helped me continue going all the way through. So around 12 o'clock in the night, at 50%, I had completed 50 kilometers. I was very happy. Aspirationally, I wanted to do 55, but I'm happy I'd done 50 already, because I knew if I could keep going, I would definitely try and get to the at least first goal that I had of 89 kilometers. And rightly so, I did the 89 kilometers within 11 hours, and I was quite happy. But by that time, it was tough. It was tough to keep moving. So most of my running was run, walk, post the 60 kilometer mark. After that, it was invariably a lot of walking along with running. But I consciously made sure that I continued to be on my feet rather than going and resting it out completely. And every time I kind of felt tired, I would walk it out. And I think this is the only way endurance runners can actually complete the distances that they aspire to complete. So all in all, a phenomenal event, beautifully organized, and I must tell you that it pays, or it is absolutely advantageous to have a friend of yours in the event who's there to support you. So Pushpa, who was there as a friend of mine, she was one of these organizers. She was there as a medical organizer. She was all around, always encouraging me. Every round that I took, she would keep cheering me, and even helped me with respect to trying to place my nutrition in a place where I could very conveniently and comfortably pick it up every time I took those loops. So some things like these really help you. Friends coming there at the finish time. I had a whole host of my run buddies come there. They all woke up at 3 o'clock in order to be there by around 4:30 to cheer me and see me finish at 5 o'clock. And that last 30 minutes, those last 35-40 minutes that they were there were phenomenal, because if probably not for their encouragement, maybe I would have done a kilometer or two less. But the fact that they were there, it just helped me push a little bit more, So all sorts of encouragement is required when you're trying to push yourself in such events. And right from the encouragement from the organizers, I think the way they were handling this, they were taking rounds, keeping an eye on every runner, monitoring them. We were mandatorily made to go in for a health check at a certain time. So I had my health check at around 11:30, 12 in the night. It was mandatory. Everyone has to stop and go in and get their BP checked and stuff like that. So these are things that help you to keep yourself safe and healthy and injury free. And a good event, well organized event, helps you to really enjoy it. So It was a fantastic event. I think I really enjoyed that event. It was my first, and I think that probably is one of the last, because to honestly practice something of this magnitude, you need to dedicate a lot of time. So there's a lot of sacrifice, a lot of dedication, not just the sacrifice that you yourself make, but also your family makes because of this, you know. So your aspiration and your family has to sacrifice. So yes, it calls for a lot. A great event, guys, and I think I encourage everyone to once in a lifetime try something that is out of the ordinary. So I'm sure if you run a 21, make the out of the ordinary a 42. If you run a 42, make the out of the ordinary a 50 kilometer. If you've done a 50 in the past, aspire to do a 75. So keep changing your goal. Your goal could be anything, and if you have a goal in mind, work towards it. You may need time on hand, you need to create that time. You need to figure out a moment when you'll be able to do it, and then go all out for it, wholeheartedly. You need to change the way you think, change the way you eat, change the way you work out, practice, because everything thereon has to be for that particular event. And when I started practicing for this event, my weight was about 74 kgs. When I finished the event, my weight was 67 kgs. So I lost a lot of muscle. Of course, weight loss also, but I wasn't overly overweight in any sense. But I lost a lot of muscle that I'd built up. Everyone looked at me and said, what has happened to you? You lost a lot of weight, you become skinny. But that's the price you pay for kind of a practice like that. So these are some of the things that you have to endure to become an endurance runner. And I'm sure in your path of life, you will look back and say, hey, I've done this too. I don't think I'm going to do this again. Maybe yes, in a different event, not necessarily a 12-hour event. I'd love to run a Khardungla, which is what my aspiration has been for the longest. I definitely now want to go into the Comrades, because people say when you do this 12-hour event and you cross the 90-kilometer mark in the weathers that are available in the kind of weather that's in Mumbai, you could possibly do your Comrades in a far better timing because the weather there is very cool. So these are some of the advantages that you can touch base with if you experienced certain long distance running. Besides that, long distance running is a phenomenal mental game. It makes you strong. It teaches you patience. It teaches you to deal with pain. So give it a shot, and I'm always around. So should you ever want to do a professional training for a long distance run, marathon, ultra, otherwise, GS Fit for Life is what you connect with. Okay, so get back to my channel, watch through all those 7-8 videos if you haven't seen them. I talk of everything in detail, and I hope you enjoyed this entire 8 episode series. And I hope to next take you to a different series where I probably have a different goal, and I'll see you soon again then. Until then, thank you so much. Keep running, enjoy.